Do you want an adaptable British ground attack aircraft that's armed to the teeth and viable across several battle ratings and game modes? Well, the Westland Wyvern might be the plane for you. In this video I'll go over the Wyvern's weapons, why I think these weapons make this plane the best ground attacker in the British tech tree, followed by an overview of the multiple other roles this plane performs exceptionally. This plane can carry rockets, carrying either 8 or 16 mounted under the wings, as well as 3 bombs dropped in 2 salvos, probably your most useful weapon load, as well as a heavyweight torpedo for those pesky cruisers in Naval RB, or whether you're unlucky enough to get the Norway map. However, your main weapons are the 4 Hispano Mark V 20mm cannons located in the wings. Whilst Hispanos don't have the firepower of the German Mine-Geschoss rounds, the air target belts are still quite formidable against both planes and AI ground targets. The ground target belts only have a penetration of 23mm at 100 meters range, meaning at battle rating 5.0 there aren't many tanks you can kill with your cannons. So I suggest keeping the air target belts equipped even in ground RB. Whichever belts you choose to take, you still get a healthy 1,200 rounds of ammunition, meaning you could quite literally kill the entire enemy team if only they very kindly all lined up for you, but one can only dream. You get access to 2 different types of rockets. The less useful rocket, or the AP Mark I, has no explosive filler and instead acts as a huge rocket propelled dart. These rockets have 90mm of penetration at 500 meters, but the lack of explosive filler means that a direct hit is needed. The preferred rockets are the familiar RP3 rockets. These have less penetration of only 52mm at 500 meters, but carry a whopping 5.5 kilograms of TNT, meaning even near misses can still cause huge damage. Historically, the RP3s were so powerful when fired in salvos that launching 8 of them from a Typhoon was compared to the firepower of a Royal Navy 6-inch cruiser gun. Both rocket types are carried under the wing and in loads of either 8 or 16 rockets, and with 4 or 8 salvos that can be fired respectively. I recommend carrying 16 RP3s and either using them on tank columns or pillboxes in air realistic, or against enemy tanks in ground realistic. When carrying 16 RP3 rockets, you also have the option to attach a torpedo as well. This torpedo means business, carrying 224 kilograms of high explosive, as well as being designed to be dropped in very aggressive approaches. A lot of torpedoes require you to slow right down in order to launch it, not this one. With a maximum launch speed of 443 km per hour, you minimise the time you're exposed to enemy guns, also while delivering a torpedo that can easily knock out a cruiser. The combination of torpedo and RP3 rockets means that after one ship has been sank with your torpedo, you can make another pass at your target with your rockets, before finally having to RTB for ammo. Finally, the bombs. This plane carries either 3 500-pound bombs or 3 1,000-pound bombs. Obviously we want the 1,000-pound bombs. These bombs drop in 2 salvos. The 2 bombs on the wings drop first, and then a single 1,000-pound bomb drops from the fuselage. This means in ground realistic, you get 2 bomb drops, and as long as you land the bombs within 30 meters of the target, the 290 kilograms of TNT equivalent high explosive will bring about a significant emotional event for the vehicle's crew. I don't suggest high angle diving attacks in this plane, for reasons we will get onto shortly. Instead, I suggest setting a 2-second fuse delay and getting low and fast, attacking tanks in shallow declines, whilst being wary of the terrain behind your target. Another use for the bombs, and the method I use to grind out most of the British tech tree, is to bomb bases in air realistic. The 3,000 pounds of explosive you carry is enough to destroy a base, and on your way back to the airfield, you can use your previously mentioned high ammo count to strafe all the AAA and AI vehicles you encounter. Now, why did I say not to carry out high angle diving attacks? Well, this plane is no Yak 9T. In fact, the Wyvern weighs more than 4 times as much as the Yak 9. Basically, this plane can't turn for shit. When it comes to aerodynamic performance, this plane is fast in a straight line, but due to its very high wing loading, it has a very poor turn rate, as well as poor energy retention, both in the horizontal and vertical. Imagine a brick, but with a huge engine mounted to it. That is pretty much the Wyvern. Speaking of engines, and probably the most unique thing about this plane, is the Armstrong and Siddeley turboprop engine driving a contra-rotating propeller system. This gives the plane a huge amount of thrust with 3,917 British horsepowers. You can also wep this engine for eternity, it does not overheat at all. Subsequently, at low altitude and in the horizontal, the acceleration of the Wyvern is very good, with and without carried weapons. The engine power gives you a climb rate of 23 meters per second when not carrying additional weapons, as well as a top speed of 650 kilometers per hour at sea level, meaning that at 5.0 battle rating, the Wyvern is the fastest plane on the deck in a prolonged horizontal chase. However, if an enemy is diving on you, your speed won't save you, as your cruising speed usually isn't higher than the enemy's dive speed. After you've dropped all your bombs, your acceleration and climb performance improves significantly. However, you are still outturned by nearly every single seat fighter. In the late stages of a game, when everyone is low, you can use your speed and climb rate to boom and zoom enemies. I would only recommend doing this to enemies already engaged with your friendly fighters, taking on a more supporting role as compared to the dedicated fighters on your team. In realistic, you will be frequently up-tiered to 5.7 games, which would be an issue if the Wyvern was a dedicated fighter, but as the Wyvern is a dedicated passive ground attacker, a battle rating up-tier isn't a huge issue. The Wyvern has an air brake and gets a very effective set of Fowler flaps, providing a lot of lift at low speeds. This makes landings on carriers a breeze. The flaps can also be used to decrease your turning circle. However, I would personally recommend keeping this plane fast due to the aforementioned brick with a massive engine analogy. In ground realistic battles, Britain's 5.0 tank lineup is very strong. So as you can see, the British 5.0 lineup mainly consists of the Comet. Here I've got the Premium Comet, the Iron Duke, as well as the regular Comet from the Tech Tree. I also have the Sherman Firefly Premium. However, you can use the regular Tech Tree version, I'm just using it for the higher RP and Silver Lion. You also get access to the Achilles and the Avenger, both of which are very good tank destroyers with good guns. Again, this one's premium, but it is available as a non-premium in the Tech Tree. You also get access to a pretty decent Crusader anti-aircraft gun, as well as a more heavily armed version, but I prefer this one. Then finally, our fighters cover. Got two here, you don't really need to take these if you don't want. The Typhoon Mark B late, pretty good. 4 Hispanos, same as the Wyvern. You get RP3 rockets like the Wyvern, just not as many. Got my Wyvern here as well. Very strong lineup, very competitive at 5.0. Very competitive at an up tier as well. However, you don't really see up tiers. 5.7, 5.3 is mainly what you'll see. But again, 5.0 Britain, very strong. The Wyvern remains competitive as a ground strike plane up to around battle rating 7.7. I use it in my 6.7 British lineup, which frequently sees up tiers to 7.7, and the 1,000 pound bombs work just as well against IS-3s as they do against Pussy Panthers and T-34 OP5s. However, after battle rating 7.7, you start to encounter some radar guided SPAAs, which kind of just curb stomp the Wyvern. The Wyvern can only be obtained from a pack on the Guardian website. The pack costs £27 British or €30. As well as the plane, you get 1,000 Golden Eagles as well as 15 days premium time. The Wyvern is also a rank 4 plane, meaning it can effectively research all the way up to rank 5, meaning you can use this plane to research jets, something very handy indeed. The Wyvern has an RP booster of 480%, along with a Silver Line booster of 660%. These are pretty good rewards, especially considering that allied teams aren't complete shite anymore. This plane is pretty much a must-have for anyone serious about British tanking, as well as a very effective choice for players wanting to grind the British air tree. Its bomb load and high ammo count allows players less skilled in dogfighting to receive high amounts of Silver Lions and RP by the way of ground striking in air realistic battles, as well as providing deadly close air support on the battlefields of ground realistic. The Wyvern is one of my most played aircraft and has earned me well over 4 million Silver Lions, and I love it to bits. However, players thinking about purchasing this plane should remember that this is not a fighter, and you probably will not get a positive KD in this plane. But what you will get is a lot of silver lions, RP, and salty messages in chat from the poor fucker you just bombed. I hope you enjoyed this review, lads. Thanks for watching.